Chapter 1. I don't think that looks too bad anymore, sweetheart, said her mother. Yeah, because I've spent the last 2 days with either a full shield or a catcher's mask on, replied Sabrina, allowing her mother to inspect her black eye. Well, his turn is over and now it's yours, so unless you're going to make him kick the soccer ball with you, then I assume sports are over for a few days. Her mother smiled, letting go of her daughter's chin. You serious, Mom? Look at my nails, said Sabrina, showing her mother her hand. They're destroyed. Honey, we all agreed to this while you guys are stuck at home and bored while Daddy and I have to work, her mother lectured. 3 days for him, then 3 for you, and then Sunday is a family day since it's our only day together. Now come on, suck it up and don't get so crazy about things. I need you to be mature and you're the big sister. Not during Monday through Wednesday I wasn't, so finally I am again today. Sabrina fixated on her fingers. Now he got his 3 days and now I get mine, but you didn't answer me about my nails, Mom? I could cry. Yes, he did, and this you are going to have to deal with, said her mother, inspecting her nails. Nail salons are not going to be opening for a while still, and I could kick myself for even starting you on getting them done regularly. You do, said Sabrina. So why can't I? I get it, honey, laughed her mother. Of course you can, and that's how I was too at your age. Now how about we buy some home nails kits and I'll help you redo them. There are so many cute options for things you can do at home. Okay, but can I get them today? Sabrina asked. Today is my turn, and since I don't have to be his catcher, goalie or tackling dummy, at least I can start by fixing my nails before he even wakes up. Oh, come on, you had fun? Smiled her mother. It wasn't that bad. I didn't see you volunteer to try to catch his wild throws, replied Sabrina, rolling her eyes. Yeah, not my thing if I could, laughed her mother, flicking her wrist. And I can't. I'm there for you too for everything, but I'm not that type of mom. No kidding, said Sabrina. You're a dance mom. Exactly. But don't say that. You know I'm more than that, and it's like you leave out your brother, laughed her mother. I like to think of myself as your biggest fan and an inside mom. I sit there for every game, but of course I'd rather be inside at dance. You know I hate bugs or getting dirty. Like I do, said Sabrina. I miss cheer and dance so much, Mom. This all sucks. I know it does, honey, but you have to stay safe, replied her mother, feeling bad. Now it's going to rain the next few days anyway, so his turn worked out perfectly, and I figured you could do everything you like inside anyway. Just go easy on him. Easy on him? No way, Mom, moaned Sabrina. Did he go easy on me? Honey, you know what I mean? He's a boy, but you know he can be sensitive? He'll be sensitive playing what I want today, smiled Sabrina. And I'm not dealing with him being a brat or whining mom. You need to tell him it's my turn now and he can't pull any of that. I did already, and I will when I wake him up. All I ask is remember you are the big sister, so please be one. You got me? Yeah. I love my baby brother, and can you not tell by what's left of this black eye? Smirked Sabrina. Don't worry. I'll be the big sister and the babysitter and mommy when we play. Aren't you always the mommy when we play dolls? Laughed her mother. Well, yeah, giggled Sabrina. But I never get to play like this with him, so this should be so much fun. If I know you probably not for him, laughed her mother. This was all his idea, Mom, said Sabrina. He said he'd play whatever I wanted if I did whatever he wanted, and now I am so done with all the boy stuff. That was the deal, so you cannot let him welch out now. That would not be fair. So dolls, and what else is in that little mind of yours? Questioned her mother. I know you, Missy, and I know the wheels are turning. Barbies, dress up, and everything girly you'll know he'll hate. Well, yeah, and he knows this already, smiled Sabrina. And so do you? Like playing dolls or a little dress up will kill him? It won't, just don't get too crazy please, said her mother. We're stuck in this house, Mom, said Sabrina. How crazy can I get? Okay, sweetheart, said his mother. Go wake him up for breakfast and I'll see you tonight after my shift. Okay, but what about my nail kits, said Sabrina. Do I seriously have to wait until tonight to fix these nails? Please, Mom, can we run to the store quick before you go to work so I can fix them during school video call recess? Sabrina, I have to leave for work now, so go bug your father to take you to the pharmacy since he has to go get us a few things anyway, but do it now so you can be back in time for school, replied her mother. On it, Mom, said Sabrina, happy with her offer. And I'll get a few other things I need as well? Sure, nodded her mother. Just go wake him up and I'll get you father to take you in 5 minutes. Into her brother's room she raced, shaking awake her little brother and then hovering over him with a big smile on her face. Wake up, sleeping beauty, said Sabrina. Mom said come have breakfast and you know what day it is, don't you? Thursday, said Owen, rubbing his eyes. Right? Yup, and what else? Asked Sabrina, stroking his hair off his face. I don't know, and give me 5 more minutes, said Owen, rolling over. These days stuck in the house all seem to blend together now. Mom said get up, and we've been outside like every day after school, said Sabrina. Now come on, and it's my day today if you were curious what I meant. Great, said Owen sarcastically, sitting up and stretching. And I wasn't? Well, you should be. Sabrina pulled open his shades to let in the light. And there'll be no sports on the agenda today. I guess not, said Owen, looking out the window. It's really pouring out there. Video games it is then. No, my day, remember, said Sabrina, pulling off his covers. Now get up, and Mom said go and eat. Yeah, we can play a little and then I'll jump online with my friends at 5, said Owen, swinging his legs off the bed. What are you talking about 5, said Sabrina. I played with you like 4 or 5 hours a day until I got online with my friends. That's not our deal? Yeah, but you're going to make me play baby dolls and girl crap, said Owen. I can't do that for hours, you know. Why not? I did sports and boy stuff until Mom made us come in for dinner, yelled Sabrina. I even went back outside with you after we ate until the sun went down, helped you with your homework and never complained. Stop being a baby, said Owen. I'll do some stuff. I'm the one being a baby? Sabrina replied, getting pissed. You're not holding up your side of the deal. Fine, I'm a baby, said Owen, walking right past her. Call me whatever you want, and if I was a girl I'd do all that, but obviously I'm not. I'll play until 5, and then I'm playing video games with my friends. Sabrina, your dad is in the car, yelled her mother. Grab your mask and hurry up. You need to get back and he needs to get to work too, you know. She was infuriated as she grabbed her little purse and stormed past her brother towards the door. Hey, said her mother, stopping her and seeing her angst. What's going on? Nothing, except he's being difficult, moaned Sabrina. He doesn't want to hold up his end like I was afraid of. You better talk to him, Mom. Okay, I will, but go please because I have to leave for work the second you get back, said her mother. Don't get crazy, and remember any issues text me or call Mrs. Miller next door if there's a real emergency, as she knows you guys are home alone. She scurried outside into the car with her father and then they drove to the big drugstore. Sabrina, "You're going to need to get off that phone and be ready when we get there," said her father as they drove. "I can't make this a long visit, so here's your mother's list, and get focused." "That's exactly what I'm doing on my phone, Dad," replied Sabrina, barely picking up her head and creating her own list before taking her mother's and glancing at it. "I'm getting myself organized, so I'll be quick, and I got this no problem." "Good, then if you don't need me I'm going to get gas, honey," said her father, peeling off a few 20s. "Just run in and get what you need. You can handle it, right?" "Dad, I'm in 7th grade and I handle everything, don't I?" said Sabrina, rolling her eyes and then looking at the list. "I'm the babysitter, tutor, house cleaning helper, and whatever. Now I shop here all the time with Mom, and I seriously don't think you really have any idea what all this costs, so give me a couple bucks more just in case, please." "Actually, no. Admittedly, I have none." Her father laughed, seeing her hand out and giving her more money. "Meet you right back here in 10 minutes. "That works," nodded Sabrina, stuffing the money in her purse and pulling on her mask and getting out of the car. Into the store she went and quickly she buzzed down the aisles. She knew the big pharmacy like the back of her hand, loading the cart with everything on her mother's list first before tending to her own needs. To the cosmetics area she went next, quickly selecting everything and more to do her nails before picking a few extra items she wanted. She looked at her phone, checking the time, and then glanced at the line knowing she had 3 minutes left until he'd be outside. She'd have one more aisle to visit, checking off all the last-minute items she added in the cart, and then with a minute to spare, she was scanning everything in the self-checkout. "Wow," said her father, pulling up as out she came. "Right on time? You need to give your mother a lesson on being that quick." "I'm organized, Dad," said Sabrina, putting the bags in the back seat and then getting in and pulling off her mask, handing him a few singles. "And here's your change." "But still your mother's daughter, Sabrina," said her father, looking at his change. "Guess you were right, and maybe that list was bigger than I thought." "Sorry? I realized this morning I needed a lot of stuff we don't have," grinned Sabrina, buckling her seatbelt. "Having daughters are expensive, Dad?" "No kidding, princess," laughed her father, pulling away. "Text your mother and tell her we're on our way home so she can leave for work." "Especially princesses, and already doing that," joked Sabrina, texting as they drove home. "I'm updating her I got everything she needed too, and I'll put everything away." "You're going to make a great mom someday, honey," said her father, reaching over, rubbing her arm lovingly. "Well, hopefully once I have a daughter, she'll agree," joked Sabrina. "Honey, even though I'm sure you'll do a great job mothering, I think you know better," joked her father, turning the wheel. "I wish parenting could be that easy, but not every kid is a gem like you, so someday you'll find out firsthand." "Thank you, Daddy," said Sabrina, leaning over and kissing his cheek. "I know sometimes it takes tough love and some discipline. It's my turn today, so I'll be practicing with my baby dolls and your real princess." "Yeah, have fun with that," laughed her father, pulling up. "But that's right. It is your turn, so if that big baby gives you any trouble, call me at work and I'll handle it." "Like I'm not expecting it," smiled Sabrina, getting out. "But I'll pass that message along if I need to." Into the house went Sabrina now went with all the bags, dropping them on the kitchen counter before running in to check on her brother. He was a bit younger, being an 8-year-old in 2nd grade, and she was the older sibling at 12 in 7th grade. She'd been the acting babysitter for a few hours each day after school for over a year since she turned 11, as this allowed her mother to go back to work. Being an extremely responsible young lady and very mothering was nothing new, as her parents trusted her completely to help, especially since both had essential jobs during this horrific quarantine time. "Log on and you're taking a bath the second school ends at 2:30 p.m., said Sabrina, cracking open his door. I have an exam last period, so I should be done early and have everything ready. I'll be in to check later. I'll take a shower tonight, and I took one Monday, grumbled Owen. No, you took one Sunday, and you've been sweaty playing sports outside, said Sabrina. Honestly, even Monday is gross and I don't even want you in my room playing, smelling like this. Then I guess we'll have to skip playing dolls then, smirked Owen. As if, groaned Sabrina, watching him and then pulling the door shut, ducking out. Now log on. He entered his online school sessions as she closed the door and then got on herself. Just as she did every day, she periodically checked on him and then at 2:30 p.m. sharp opened his door. Bath time, stinky, grinned Sabrina, opening the door. Go away, grumbled Owen. I'll play with you in a little while, but right now I'm having a snack. Oh, there'll be plenty of time for snacks during our playtime, but right now is bath time and this isn't a debate, ordered Sabrina. You're not the boss of me, yelled Owen, rolling his eyes. You're not my mother? Always the hard way, said Sabrina, shaking her head and then spinning around her phone. Say hi to Daddy? Oh. Hey Dad, said Owen, seeing him on FaceTime. Owen, what's going on? Said his father. You know I'm really busy here, right? Gulped Owen. Yeah? So Daddy told me to give him a call should you give me any trouble, so are you? Said Sabrina with a smirk on her face. I'm not Dad, moaned Owen. All I want is a snack. And you just heard me say you'd be getting one after your bath, said Sabrina, holding out the phone with her other hand on her hip. Now it's my turn, and I don't want you in my room or any dress-up clothes stinky, so are you going to give me a hard time playing the way I want today? No, moaned Owen. What dress up? I thought we were playing some stupid dolls or something. Dad, uttered Sabrina. Fine, nodded Owen, tossing up his hands. Good, because when I play your games I'm the catcher or whatever stupid pretend thing I need to be, so we're playing both or whatever I want, so please take a bath, said Sabrina, looking down at her father as she was holding up the phone. And you did hear the please, right? I know I did, lectured their father. So do we have an issue here, Owen? No, sulked Owen. So I assume I will not get another call then, right? Said their father sternly. No, Dad, grumbled Owen. Thank you, Daddy. Love you, smiled Sabrina, blowing him a kiss before hanging up and looking at her brother. Towels on the vanity, and hurry up before the bubbles go down. Into the bathroom he went, settling into the tub as his sister headed into her room, getting things ready. It was a nice relaxing 20 minutes in the tub under the bubbles until they began dissipating and then his sister knocked before coming into the bathroom. Just sit still under the bubbles, said his sister holding a yellow bottle, kneeling next to the tub. I'm going to wash your hair, because I'm sure you didn't? Seriously? Said her brother, totally caught off guard as she squirted it into her palm. Of course, smiled Sabrina, beginning to lather it up. I don't mind and I've been looking forward to this all day. To washing my hair? Asked Owen, surprised as she scrubbed. Not exactly, giggled Sabrina, taking the tub spray nozzle. Eyes closed. Down his head came an array of water as she squirted the warm, rinsing the shampoo from his head. As he wiped his eyes when it stopped, he instantly felt the cool conditioner as she scrubbed it in and then got up from her knees. Leave it in for a few minutes, and then I'll see you in my room, okay? Said his sister, drying her hands and leaving. He sat back, not wanting to get out, but then when 5 minutes went by, she returned, twisting the knob, starting the water to drain from the tub. A few minutes are over, and I don't want you pruned, said his sister, picking up his hand and looking at it. So rinse off, or did you need me to do that for you too? I'm coming, groaned Owen. And why do you have that towel on your head? You're not the only one that washes their hair in this house, grumbled Sabrina, walking out. Dry off and straight into my room, please. I'd like to get started. Once she closed the door, Owen dried off and wrapped himself in a towel before heading out. When he got to his room, his door was locked as he pushed on the door and jiggled the handle a few times before getting frustrated, heading down the hall into his sister's room. Why is my door locked? Asked Owen, annoyed. You seriously did not do that, did you? Maybe, and I told you to come to my room, not yours, didn't I? Replied Sabrina with her arms folded. Yeah, but I didn't get dressed yet, said Owen, frustrated. And now how am I getting my clothes without Dad coming home and getting the lock off? Remember last time I did that? Do you know how pissed he'll be? He won't be, because we're not calling him for something that's not necessary at the moment, and I have your clothes you'll be wearing, said Sabrina, walking over and pulling him by the arm. Now just come in and close the door. Fine, I can wear some of the stupid dress-up stuff, but did you forget I need underwear, said Owen, annoyed. Plus what about my homework, and do I really have to be that stupid prince again or worse than nerdy Ken if we're playing Barbies? Yeah, there'll be no Barbies today, and I hate that prince outfit, said Sabrina, folding her arms. Now I have your iPad, plus don't you think I checked? You have no homework since you have a half day tomorrow, so don't even try that as an excuse. I wasn't, moaned Owen. Good, then go sit on my bed because I've got all the underwear you need, my precious little one, smiled Sabrina. Precious little one, gulped Owen. I don't like the sound of that. Too bad. Sabrina pointed. On the bed, please, and let me change so I can get you ready. Ready? I don't need you to get me ready. Owen replied before shaking his head, seeing his sister. And what the hell are you wearing? It's just an old house dress, and what mommies wear when they don't want their outfit to get dirty, said Sabrina, pulling the strap to an apron around the dress, tying the strap behind her. And of course you do, baby. This isn't funny, Sabrina, said Owen, looking at her curiously as she unwrapped the towel from her head now. And how can I even take you seriously like that? It's okay, sweetheart, smiled Sabrina, folding over a kerchief. Mommies do look silly sometimes until they can get themselves together. Seriously, Sabrina, said Owen, holding out his hand like a stop sign. I know we're playing and pretending here, but this is too weird. I can get myself ready. Honey, don't be frightened, said Sabrina, patting her hair in her mirror and then flipping the kerchief over it. It's only some rollers that Mommy will get out later after she tends to her little darling. Now lay down and let me get started on my baby. Your baby? Sighed Owen, quivering and watching her tie it underneath her rollers. Of course your Mommy's little bundle of joy, smiled Sabrina, unfolding a plastic pad and placing it on her bed. You don't want me to be the prince or play dolls. Or even baby dolls, gulped Owen, stunned. You want me to be the baby? You are the baby, grinned Sabrina, patting the pad. Now please lay down nice, sweetheart, and scoot up all the way on Mommy's pad. But? Owen stuttered. No buts, honey, before we have an accident, said his sister as she turned swiftly, lifting him under his armpits and placing him on her bed. Sabrina, stop, groaned Owen, caught off guard, finding himself quickly atop it. You can't be serious. Mommies need to be serious when it comes to these things, and it's just in case you wet the bed, honey, said Sabrina, pushing him down as he tried to sit up. Sometimes that happens when the cool air hits you, but Mommy's prepared. Please stop. You're scaring me, Sabrina, Owen begged, looking up and seeing her pull a diaper from a Huggies package. This is going too far, and you shouldn't be seeing my you-know-what. Mommies have seen it all, and if you're that worried then you better sit still, said Sabrina, lifting his leg and dropping the diaper beneath him. Now I can do this easily, so I'm not even looking, but if you decide you really want to fuss, then we can make this a lot more uncomfortable than it has to be. Your choice? My choice? Replied Owen as she dug her fingers under the towel. It doesn't seem like I'm getting a choice. Of course you aren't. You're just an infant, and this is Mommy's time now, honey, so behave, laughed Sabrina, turning her head and ripping off the towel off him. So just be still and let me powder you, then I'll have you all closed up in no time. Oh God. Owen stared up at the ceiling, seeing the baby powder in her hand and then feeling it rain down on his private area. See how easy that was, and there was nothing to be embarrassed about, said Sabrina, looking into his eyes as she closed up the diaper, pulling the tabs. Mommy can do that with her eyes closed, and saw nothing my baby was worried about. Still. I can't believe you just put me in a diaper, cried Owen, trying to sit up. Is this really fun for you? Please lay back, honey, and I'm sure you'll be potty trained soon enough, but you're just too little, said Sabrina, pushing him back and taking a pink bottle from the nightstand. Now you smell nice and clean after you bath, but Mommy doesn't want you to have dry skin. I knew I recognized those smells, whined Owen as she lifted his left leg, rubbing in lotion. Was that baby shampoo? And you are seriously putting baby lotion on me? I'm not, laughed Sabrina, doing the right leg now. Maybe Mommy took a few too many pucks to the mask? Please, moaned Owen, starting to sit up as she grabbed his arm and began squirting on his back as he looked down at his diaper. That smells. And I can't stay like this? Smells nice, and of course you're, smiled Sabrina, reaching across and squirting his right arm. I've had to stay with a black eye and my nails destroyed, so don't you dare even move a muscle. I'm telling Daddy? Owen said as she was lathering his chest now. I'm sure he's not good with this. Think again, smirked Sabrina, reaching across and greasing other arm. Who do you think took me to get all the stuff today? No way. Owen sighed as she wiped her hand in a towel and then took a brush in her hand. Today? Yup, and paid for it all too. Sit nice, please, smiled Sabrina, stroking his wet hair away from his face with a hard pink bristled brush. I'll dial him now if you want after I dress you, and you can ask him if he complained about how expensive it is to have a little princess. A little princess? Said Owen, taken aback even more as she was brushing his hair into her hand. Well, it's just an expression adults use, so let Mommy rephrase it, so let's not get ahead of ourselves, baby girl, reaching over and taking a little band from the table and putting it between her teeth as she brushed harder now. It'll be a while before you're Mommy's little princess. Oh no? Owen sat there as she took it from her teeth and he felt some of his hair grow tight at the crown. Baby girl? Don't be worried, and let's take one step at a time, you little cutie, smiled Sabrina, pulling on the ends, tightening the band down against his scalp. You're going to look absolutely adorable when I'm done with you. But getting you to the little princess stage will take some time, so what's the rush? We've got 3 days, baby girl, and lie back for Mommy, please? 3 days? Shivered Owen as she pushed his back flat on the bed. I can't do this for 3 days? I'm not a baby, and certainly not a girl. Wasn't my idea, and I didn't make the rules, shrugged Sabrina, opening a package of tights. But I abided by them regardless, and guess who will be abiding by them now? I'll abide, grumbled Owen, watching her rolling them up in her hands and stretch them open. Please, we could play together, but don't make me a girl. Please, I'm a boy and I don't want to be a girl. We could and we will, but Mommy went through a lot of trouble to get your outfits together, baby girl, said Sabrina, stretching the hose over his left ankle and beginning to pull them up his leg. And for the next 3 days I make the rules, don't I? You do, but it doesn't have to be like this, shivered Owen, stretching his neck, as quickly his other leg was engulfed in nylon and then she lifted his buttocks, pulling the waistband over his diaper. Outfits? Oh God! What is this? You're just not used to wearing such pretty things, baby girl, smiled Sabrina, stretching open a big frilly panty and sliding it down his legs. But don't worry, you'll get used to it and I plan on spoiling you. Please, you don't need to spoil me, Owen replied as she lifted him up by one leg slightly before he felt a snap of the waistband. How about we take this off and I can just sit around in the diaper, then we can pretend. We could, but Mommy wouldn't want you to catch a cold and you're just too young to realize it yet. But believe me, you want to look pretty, said Sabrina, taking a shoe from a box and sliding on his left foot. All little girls do. But I'm not a little girl, grumbled Owen as she put on the right shoe now and buckled the strap across his ankle. So I don't. Well, you may think you're a big girl, my darling baby, but you're not, and you can sit up now, said Sabrina, putting her hand behind his back and helping him up. Hands up please, and I'm dying to see how you'll look dressed. But I'm not. Owen pulled his arm away. Please, Sabrina. I'm done playing. It's Mommy, and you think that was easy for Mommy? Said Sabrina, growing angry. Now I'm done playing when it comes to messing around, so get both those arms up pronto, Missy. Don't make Mommy sound negative, but our choices are a bit limited based on what will fit you from the attic, since you're quite the big baby in more ways than one. No kidding, said Owen, furious and turning beet red. I won't ask again, said Sabrina before taking her phone from the table and scrolling down to her last call, showing her father's number to him. So just kill me, shivered Owen, half raising his arms. Do not even joke about that. I love you and don't get so dramatic, said Sabrina, tossing the phone on the bed. This is supposed to be fun. But you're the one having all the fun, said Owen, feeling better as she came in, hugging him and then kissing the top of his head. So we can call this off then? Did I quit when you almost blinded me? Replied Sabrina, stepping back and snapping her finger at him. You think that was fun? Well, no, but that was different? Owen said. Yeah? Don't think so, and nice try, but I'm still dressing you, giggled Sabrina, rolling her eyes. Now stand up, arms to the sky and turn around if it helps. Maybe even close your eyes if you have to, so let's go before you really do catch a cold. Owen could barely feel his feet touch the floor as he slid off the end of the bed and then turned away from her, closing his eyes. He was visibly trembling as she tapped his elbow to reach up higher, and then he felt her pull his arm inside a garment. The extremely gentle material felt so foreign as his other arm would be manipulated inside, and then down came the cool tingling across his nose, then down the back of his neck. Her cold hands would elicit further twitching as one hand seemed inside the garment on his back while the other seemed to pull his head inside. He was petrified, squeezing his eyes even tighter, wishing he could blink the outfit away, but then he felt her tug near the waistline and then her twisting him, straightening the fit. A quick twist of the elastic on the left sleeve cuff across his bicep would be followed by a frigid feeling of her fingers closing buttons up his lower back. As the buttoning seemed to stop 3/4 of the way up his spine, her 4 fingers inside at the neckline felt like icicles while she pulled out the twisted collar from inside the outfit. When finally she folded it over neatly to her liking, it would take 3 more buttons before he could feel the last one fastened at his nape. Stop fidgeting, and don't you dare accidentally knee me in the face, said Sabrina, pulling on the edges as she knelt. Mommy almost forgot I have to pull this down until I fix the snaps and then I'll have it right back up. Now just be still, because if you step while I have this around your ankles, you'll fall flat on your face and I won't be the only one with a black eye, but obviously Mommy doesn't want that. He wanted to scream, feeling the frilly garment slide down his tights, and then felt the elastic stretch around his ankles. Quickly though, she almost yanked him from his feet as he felt his outfit stretch down, feeling the tension on his shoulders before her fingers seemed to pull something between his legs. A quick snap would be followed by a second clasping sound as she locked him inside this weird garment as he cracked his eyes wide open, feeling the stretchiness right up his legs before feeling an elastic snap at his waistline. "Oh my God," squealed Sabrina, getting to her feet. "Turn around and let me see, baby girl." "I don't think I can," shivered Owen, looking down at himself with his back to her. "Oh stop, and this is so exciting," said his sister, giving a few little claps, excited. "I think it does fit." "But how?" moaned Owen, closing his eyes again. "And really, I don't think I can." "Of course you can, and Mom was right," said Sabrina, barely able to control herself, taking him by the shoulders and spinning him around. "She really does know sizes like the back of her hand." "Mom knows you're dressing me like this?" asked Owen, flabbergasted, staring at her. "Playing dress up?" "Yeah," smiled Sabrina, fussing with the skirt, twisting it a bit. "Dressing you this adorable?" "Kind of, but she doesn't know exactly what in, so she's going to absolutely freak." "I don't even know exactly what I look like, or what this is, but she cannot see me like this," groaned Owen, looking down, focused on his sister twisting the fit of the dress a little. "Please, I'm the one that would freak." "Oh God, you're right," said Sabrina, stepping behind him now. "Maybe I should have fixed your hair before I dressed you." As she stepped behind him, he felt the juices in his stomach surge, seeing himself in her dresser mirror. He knew they'd be playing dress up, but never like this, as just that fast he'd gone from little brother to being dressed up as a precious baby girl. He stood now in a baby blue cotton dress with a rounded white lace collar and matching puffy sleeve cuffs. A tiny delicate white bow sat at the middle of the collar, matching the one at each sleeve cuff as the dress had a thin stretchy bodice. An elastic waistline would barely need to stretch at his navel area with him being so thin, yet soon blossomed into the attached skirt. With a ruffled shape and a single accent of white lace below the knee hem, he'd look as precious as any baby girl could be. Atop his diapered bottom, a white ruffled diaper cover would hold everything from snapping open or being pulled down above his white tights, and little white patent Mary Janes would complete his outfit, as he could barely watch as his sister touched his shoulders from behind, taking a brush to his hair. He looked down as she brushed the hair away from his face, not wanting to see as he tried wiggling his toes in the odd shoes with his vision impaired by the skirt. Gingerly he lifted it by the lacy edging, noticing the ruffled panty, and then ran his fingers against it, sickened by all the layers beneath it. Between its fluffy ruffles, he could feel the eyelet hooks and two snaps between his legs, realizing they kept the dress taut and from rising up over his diapered bottom as he started turning beet red. Never before would so many layers need to be removed if he had to go to the bathroom, as he realized he was imprisoned as her baby until she would allow otherwise. "Even baby girls do not flash their panties, Emma," said his sister, taking the skirt from his fingers. "Now stand tall, and let's not do that again, please." But Owen began to say as she interrupted while straightening his chin, brushing some of his hair into her hands. "But nothing, and I'm as anxious as you are to start playing," said his sister, twisting a small section atop his head and holding it in his left hand while reaching back with her right hand opening a big canister filled with all different colored bows. "Now just another minute." "You're not ready, and I'm sorry I got carried away." "I'm just so excited." "Not what I meant," replied Owen as his eyes bulged as she selected a few bows, holding different ones atop his head. "But let's just play what stupid game this is and then get me out of this before Mom gets home." "Yeah, from this point forward, you'll be thinking of her as grandma and that won't be for hours, so how about my baby girl takes a break from talking while Mommy gets things together," said Sabrina, pulling out the little band and then twisting it back in before pulling on his hair very tightly, snugging the band down against his scalp. "Ouch, Sabrina," he yelped, reaching up and grabbing her hand. "Ouch, what baby girl?" scolded Sabrina, pulling his hand away. "Time to get things straight, my little pumpkin, if you expected Mommy to mix in something that my baby girl might like." "Ouch, Mommy," grimaced Owen, swallowing hard and seeing a small 4 or 5-inch top pony sitting fountain style atop his head now. That's my baby girl, smiled Sabrina, taking a brush to the side of his hair. Good girl, Emma, and Mommy will reward you with a snack very soon for being such a good girl now. Emma? Owen questioned her as she was brushing through in the back. You named me Emma. Emma Rose Everett until my baby gets married to a handsome prince someday, and then you can take your husband's last name, smiled Sabrina, fluffing his short hair in the back. That's so much better than some stupid Owen Ryan name, of course. So you like it, baby girl? Are you, Owen started to say as she was tightening the band in his hair. I mean, yes, Mommy. Wonderful, and you want Mommy to finish fixing your hair really pretty? Questioned Sabrina, still debating bows. Add a big bow to match your outfit? Oh God, gasped Owen, getting frustrated, already answering questions. Sure, Mommy? Like I have a choice? Oh dear, said Sabrina, nodding her head and then reaching up, snapping a big bow on Owen's. Mommy's on it and that's adorable on you. No, that hurts, grumbled Owen, pulling it out. Now come on, I'm trying here, but that's too tight. Now you're really trying Mommy's patience, so obviously baby Emma is getting a little cranky, said Sabrina, shaking her head and taking a brush to his hair again. Mommy will make some adjustments, but certainly you must be a bit tired. Emma's tired of lots of things already, Owen said, throwing the bow on the floor. I can't stay like that. Fine, Emma, said Sabrina, rolling her eyes before turning and digging through the canister again. Mommy will make you a little more comfortable for now, since I was debating a headband anyway. There's so many cute things, so if we have to try them all on until you're happy, then we will. Oh geez, moaned Owen, watching her stretch open a thick headband with a huge bow on it between her fingers on both hands. Better, smiled Sabrina, sliding it over his head and then pulling back all his hair with it. Really, it's just like a headband some boy we know wore playing basketball, so I shouldn't hear peep about it, should I? Peep, snapped Owen sarcastically, quite disturbed at seeing his image with the huge bow and headband towering atop his infantile look. Fine, don't make it easy. Really, children never do, especially babies, but Mommy is just getting started so Emma will need to deal with it, said Sabrina, fussing a little, getting it just right. Won't she? How could she, grumbled Owen, getting cranky as the huge bow attached was now moved, offset to the right. She's just a baby, right? That she is? Then there'll be no more talking I guess for her until after her nap, said Sabrina, lifting under both of his arms, pulling him onto the bed. Finally something that sounds good, smiled Owen, happily laying back. Beats playing any stupid games. Baby girl, said Sabrina, softly touching his face and then pulling the covers over him. Here's a teddy bear to cuddle with, and Mommy anticipated you might be fussy today, so I have your baba ready, so just rest since I have still so much to do. You must be. Owen began to say until the next thing he knew the nipple was firmly between his lips. He wanted to jump up and object, but the warm milk was actually soothing, as quickly he found himself not even resisting enjoying the bottle. It all happened so fast, as the next thing he knew he was sucking air and then he looked up, seeing her roller-clad head with the kerchief gone before she looked down on him, exchanging it for a fresh bottle. As he sucked it dry, he could feel his eyes growing heavy and then she appeared again looking down at him before sitting next to him on the edge of bed. Big red lips and thick lashes would be changes hard to miss as she softly stroked his face and exchanged the empty bottle for a pacifier. As he softly pushed it from his lips with his tongue, she gingerly stuck it right back in, holding it gently in place as he suckled. She gave him no chance to jump up, softly placing her left forearm over his chest as her fingers prevented him from spitting it out, and then softly rubbed his eyelids with the fingers on her right hand until he was out like a light. Mommy's sorry, said Sabrina, looking down on him and wiping her finger in a small dish towel. I didn't mean to wake you just yet, baby girl, sighed Owen, popping open his eyes, looking up and seeing her as she gently touched his face. You can leave that in for a few minutes, sweetie, if you'd like, but Mommy just needs 5 more minutes, said Sabrina as he realized she was sitting on the edge of the bed next to him and looked up, seeing a pencil in her hand. Gross, sighed Owen, spitting it out. Please, no. It's okay, Emma. Just have another bottle and stay calm, baby girl, said Sabrina, reaching over and sticking one in his mouth and then grabbing another strand of his hair. I'll let you get up soon enough, but after all I've had to do while you slept since you wouldn't keep your bow in, this is not the time to be fussy. Across his headband she pulled the thin strand straight out and then he looked over, watching her dip her fingers in a small jar. Down his strand she seemed to spread the substance as he watched while suckling the milk, mesmerized and quite dumbfounded as he observed her wrap his hair around the pencil. Up she lifted her thin flat iron, clamping down on the pencil for a few seconds from the top and bottom before twisting her wrist and clamping down again at another angle. It would take another few quick presses followed by tighter twist and a few more seconds before she'd put down the iron and turned the point of the pencil towards the sky. Gingerly she now twisted it until it would tug at his scalp and then she held it for just a moment with the eraser pressed against his head. It would be as bizarre as anything on this day, as he felt a tiny spring as out it came, only to soon be shortly wrapped around the next strand. She was true to her word that this would be only a 5-minute exercise as he finished his milk and then she allowed him up once he began to suckle air. Okay then, sweetie, said Sabrina, taking away the bottle and adjusting his headband. All done, and let's get you to sit up. What did you do to me while I was sleeping? Asked Owen, starting to reach up. Just a little something that looks cute on all babies, and that wouldn't have been so easy the way you fidget when you're awake, grinned Sabrina, softly touching his face. So did you have a nice nap? I'm not sure, Owen said as Sabrina pulled off the covers, reaching up his hand. No, sweetie. Don't ruin how cute you look, and that tight bow will be right back in, Missy, said Sabrina, stopping him from touching his hair while helping him out of the bed and taking his hand. We can take off the headband later, but let's go inside. As they walked from her bedroom and he glanced up at himself, it would be impossible to miss that inside his headband now sat tons of small tightly wound coils. While he slept, she had flat ironed so many small strands around that pencil, creating a mass of Gerber baby-type flat curls. By the hand she led him from her bedroom as into the kitchen they went and then his eyes bulged, seeing all her dolls set up at the table. Immediately it was creepy seeing them surrounded in baby doll high chairs and fancy dresses, instantly figuring he'd be joining them. Each toy high chair had been placed atop the real chairs with the dolls inside them, and then a few without high chairs and bolster seats pushed up by stacks of textbooks. It took only a second until he noticed their old high chair at the head of the table, and then he stopped dead in his tracks, knowing exactly where he was headed. Don't worry, you're still my little favorite, and you get to sit at the head of the table, Emma, said his sister, lifting him from the floor. Oh great, moaned Owen, suddenly placed in their old high chair. This is going to be so much fun, squealed his sister, snapping the seatbelt around him. For who? Gulped Owen, looking down as she smoothed his skirt. And I can't believe I even still fit in this. Admittedly I was a big baby, and quite the chubby toddler, so lucky for you your grandpa still had this thing in the garage, said Sabrina, pressing down the tray. As it is, I had to half kill myself to get this thing down off a top shelf while you were napping, but my baby girl is worth it. Gee, do I feel lucky, moaned Owen, looking down at himself wedged in. Of course you are, smiled Sabrina. I plan on spoiling you rotten, you little cutie. At least their pretend playtime wasn't so bad now as she set the table with plastic plates and utensils. Plates filled with Cheerios, fake baby conversations and pretend mommy time would now last an hour as her imagination began to run wild as they played. He'd barely be allowed to speak his back into his mouth when his pacifier for a portion of the time, and then when she came around to his side of the table wrapping a bib around his neck, he wanted no part of being fed Cheerios like a real baby. Okay, enough now, moaned Owen, pushing away the spoon and spilling them. Please, let's take a break and get me out of this thing. You know I hate Cheerios, and I have to pee. Mommy is not bringing up an animal that throws her food on the floor like that, and no need to get up, said Sabrina. You will eat what I have for you, and you are not potty trained yet, Emma. Please take a time out, said Owen, struggling to get it open. Now why isn't this opening, and please I really have to go. Mommy does not like these tantrums, but that's why they make child locks, or little darlings can hurt themselves, said Sabrina, pushing him to sit back. Now sit and Mommy will change you after you eat so there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Enough, screamed Owen. Now unlock this thing or I am going to pee myself. Honey, maybe let Grandma try, said a familiar voice as Owen's neck sprung all the way to the left, not expecting her to have come in. I can only imagine how hard it must be to feed all these babies, and Grandma brought home some other things, knowing how much little Emma hates Cheerios. Mom, gulped Owen, mortified that she was seeing him like this. I think you mean Grandma, smirked his mother, putting down her pocketbook and some packages on the counter. And don't you look adorable in that dress with that pretty headband, baby girl? She made me do all this, screamed Owen. She dressed me up like this against my will. Wait, how do you know she calls me Emma? Because Mommy and I talk, said his mother, taking off her coat. And I love that color lipstick on you, Sabrina, especially with your hair short like that. When the time comes, you're going to look cute with chic mommy style. You talked about this? Cried Owen, getting upset. You knew she'd be making me a baby? A baby girl? Before it was your mommy's turn, no. But it didn't surprise me when she called me to make sure it would be okay, and then I have to say I could barely function at work having to constantly stop and check the video. Oh God, gulped Owen, mortified. You were watching. On the baby cam, yes, nodded his mother. How embarrassing, said Owen, beet red. What's to be embarrassed about? Said his mother, softly touching his face. It's just pretend, and you knew what you were getting into when this started. Didn't you, baby girl? Not this, cried Owen. I would not have agreed to any of this. But thing is you did, and you knew you'd be playing dress up, said his mother, rolling her eyes. It's all she talked about. Maybe, said Owen, shaking his head. But not like this? And maybe I wouldn't have agreed to let Sabrina play all the things you wanted to play if I would have known about some bad tests that someone may have neglected to tell me about, said his mother, pulling up a chair next to him and sliding the headband back just a touch. So does the baby girl want to fill me in about that? Oh, gulped Owen, trying to get up. I have to go pee first, Mom. Oh, you can pee anytime you want, Cupcake, as your mommy took care of that, didn't you, Mrs. Everett? Smirked their mother, tapping her nails on the table. Of course I did, smiled Sabrina. And I just reminded Emma of that, Mom. I know you did, said their mother. So since you won't be moving from this chair anytime soon, did you want to tell me how you failed math? Maybe not now. We're playing babies, said Owen, sticking the pacifier in his mouth. Don't even, said his mother, rolling her eyes. Now take a time out and answer my question. I can't, mumbled Owen with his mouth full. I didn't allow her any during my time, so... Enough. Please don't go there. I'm always here to help you study, and so is Sabrina, said his mother, yanking it out and placing it down on the tray. Now, seriously. Did you not study at all? How the hell could you get a 56? 'Cause I'm a baby, cringed Owen, picking it up again. Babies aren't so great at math, right? I see, said his mother, nodding with a stern face as he stuffed it back in his mouth. And babies shouldn't be giving their mommy or grandmother a hard time either, should they? I don't know, replied Owen with it in his mouth. You don't, huh? Can you hand me the small bag off the counter please, Sabrina, and a white bow since I'm sure you wouldn't give Grandma a hard time, said their mother, giving him a look. Because I did hear you gave your mommy a hard time pulling out your bow, naughty girl? Sure, Mom, said Sabrina, handing her the bag. Did I? Smirked Owen, biting on it. Hard to remember much at this age? Well, I watched, and you did, but that's over now and these headbands are pretty, but not so practical, said his mother, pulling off the headband and then using her fingers, sliding them in at each temple and then pulling up, twisting. Now Grandma is going to fix you without disturbing all these pretty little curls I sure you love so much, since babies tend to pull at them when they eat. But I don't want to eat, groaned Owen, spitting it out and then cringing as she reached up, snapping down the big white bow again. Ouch! I just have to pee. You can, and we'll take care of that after you eat, said their mother, pulling on the ends of his curls making sure it was tight then taking the pacifier, moving it out of his reach before opening a package with a little spoon. But in the meantime, Granny is going to give little Emma a few minutes to think about that 56 in math while I feed her dinner. Babies don't take tests, Mom, smirked Owen. True, honey. Open up please, smiled his mother, scooping some Cheerios on the spoon. So that's the way you are playing this, baby girl? Well, I wouldn't want to ruin Sabrina's playtime, replied Owen before making a face as she stuffed Cheerios in his mouth. Especially after how great she was to me during mine. Yuck. I see, nodded his mother, scooping some more. And you hate these, don't you, Cupcake? Yes, Grandma. Owen turned away, refusing the next spoonful. I know you do, fussy girl, but grandmas are always prepared, smiled his mother, taking 2 baby food jars from the bag and placing them on the table. These should give you some time to think, and were always your favorites. Yummy green beans and apricots. Open wide, baby girl. You can't be serious, gulped Owen as she opened the jar and dipped the spoon in, pushing it right towards his lips. Why do you think I made sure your hair was pulled back and you couldn't push down that headband? Grinned his mother. Imagine what a mess you'd make of it. It's white, and this can get messy, but it doesn't have to be, Emma. No, really. This isn't funny, groaned Owen. You really can't be serious? You think I'm not, said his mother, holding it a fraction from his mouth. Test me, and the only thing you will be able to eat is baby food once I talk to your father about all this. He closed his eyes, opening his mouth as in went the baby food as his mother proceeded to feed him. Not a word would be uttered from his lips as she blabbed with Sabrina while she fed him as they pretended to be mother and grandmother, gossiping. They talked about bows, baby clothes, and how to avoid postpartum depression, as all Owen could do was suck down the gross food as he tried to avoid any misery himself. When the first jar was finished, she handed Sabrina the spoon and then she took over, feeding him the next. From the look on her face, it was burning him inside how much she relished belittling him like this, as he knew she was purposely missing his mouth at times as she scooped it from his chin or cheeks. As he'd lift his hands, she pushed them away, leaving the sticky sensations to fester while she scooped every one from the jar. He wanted to cry when she opened a third jar, feeling almost numb until finally she scooped the last blob into his mouth, and it was like she had given him $1 million when the bottle went back into his mouth. One quick deep slurp though would be not what he expected, as instead of milk it would be something disgusting. He looked up, seeing the dark color as before he could push it out. Sabrina held steady and there's been no avoiding the liquid. Half a bottle would be consumed before he felt his stomach tense up and he pushed her hand aside. Mommy, I can't wait any longer. Owen felt a little involuntary fanny burp. "It's okay, Emma," said Sabrina, giving him a milk bottle now. "Grandma said you didn't even need to drink that much, but she'll be right back to change you, and if I were you I wouldn't be fighting about anything at all right now." He knew she was right and couldn't hold back anymore anyway, as suddenly he'd stopped fighting and felt the warm rush. It wouldn't take but a few more moments to be grossed out by the wetness that he was now sitting in as he sucked on the bottle, trying to pacify himself. "She wet yet?" said their mother, returning, now changed from her work clothes into a casual outfit as she looked over at him, knowing he must be. "I'm thinking yes," said Sabrina, reaching under the table, squeezing and then confirming. Yeah, definitely." "Okay, this granny will do and you go get her change of clothes," said their mother. "And I'm thinking you may need more than one after that prune juice." "I ironed a cute dress until bedtime, and I have pajamas ready," said Sabrina. "That good?" "Sounds like a plan," said his mother, opening the tray. "Go sit on the mat, Emma, and I'm hoping that little lesson was enough to make my point." "Yes, I mean, Grandma," nodded Owen, stepping out of the chair. "Oh, this is gross. It feels disgusting." "And that's how I feel when you lie to me," said his mother, taking him by the hand to the changing mat. "I feel disgusted and sick by that too." "You do?" said Owen, as his mother stepped behind him, undoing the buttons. "Yup, and hands up," said his mother, lifting off his dress. "Sick to my stomach. Now sit down, please." "I'm sorry," said Owen, lying back on it. "And how could a little pea weigh so much?" "It weighs a ton." "Just like lies," smiled his mother, lifting his feet, pulling off his left shoe. "They don't seem like much, but little ones become big ones in no time." "I guess," gulped Owen, pulling off the right one. "I'm sorry. I was lazy." "You mean lazy studying, or lazy holding in your pee-pee?" joked his mother, lifting his buttocks and sliding down his panty cover. "Well, I really wasn't trying to be," said Owen as she was unrolling his tights. "You sure about that?" said his mother, squeezing the big diaper and checking it. "Well, no on both things I guess," Owen conceded as she pulled open the diaper tabs. "Please get this off me." "In a second, and babies aren't lazy. They just need time," said his mother, taking a baby wipe and cleaning him. "But before today, you on the other hand were lazy, and I guess it's my fault for trusting you." "Obviously I shouldn't have." "Please, Mom." "You can trust me," shivered Owen, looking over, seeing her open another diaper. "I'm not that kid, and can't I get out of these now?" "I guess we'll see about that moving forward then," said his mother, lifting him and sliding it under. "And no! Not after all that baby food, baby girl?" "You mean," cringed Owen as she manipulated his legs, positioning it. "That you're not done playing babies, or being one?" replied his mother, pointing toward the hall. "Not until morning to be safe after those prunes, and get me the Balmax from the medicine cabinet in my bathroom, Sabrina. Little Emma already has some rash we better get control of before we get her dressed." "You," groaned Owen. "Here, Mom," said Sabrina, hurrying over with it. "Thank you, honey," said his mother, taking it as Sabrina turned away as she handed it over and opened the cap, squeezing in on her finger. "Go get her outfit and let's get her dressed." His whining had ceased as quickly Owen felt the soothing cream cover his private area, and then eventually his mother closed the tabs. When she was finished, he looked up, seeing Sabrina walking over with some garments over her arm and then kneeling down beside their mother. It would be his mother now, lifting his buttocks and sliding a big pink panty over his diaper as Sabrina was handing her things. Little socks would follow as he stretched his neck, trying to watch, and then before long she had buckled on his shoes. "Okay, let's get you up and your mommy will get you dressed," said his mother, taking his hands as she got back to her feet. Then you two can go finish playing before it gets too late? You going to play with us too, Mom? Said Sabrina. Hands up please, Emma. After I have a quick bite to eat, nodded their mother as he lifted his arms. Sure, why not, but after you dress her, come inside and you can have a snack. I'll throw some cookies in the oven. Down came a dress now much bigger than what he'd been in earlier, as he stood putting up no fight, not wanting to look, feeling a scratchy material slide past his nose. When he felt it clear his cheekbone and the itchiness slid across his thigh, he looked down, wanting to die as Sabrina twisted his hips, turning him away from her and taking hold of the zipper. Quickly it slid up his spine before she proceeded to fasten a singular button on top as he gulped as she folded over the collar and then reached down, patting the skirt. A tug at one side and then the other would be tough to watch as his skirt wavered yet stayed shapely as he was now encased in pale pink. Either way there would never be a doubt he'd still be her baby girl as she turned him slightly, grasping the loose hanging straps at each hip. Don't slouch, and stand tall please, Emma, commanded his sister as before he could even let out a breath, she almost yanked him from his loose stance, pulling back on the ends of each hanging sash. He straightened his legs, stopping his knees from wobbling as she looped the thick silk behind at his waistline, and then after another gentle jerk pulsing his midsection she knotted it before spinning him back around to face her. When she was finished, she took his hand, leading him back into the kitchen where her mother was at the table eating her dinner. That's so pretty on her, Sabrina, said her mother as they came in. You really did find some of the cutest dresses I had stored away in the attic, and it's amazing what fits her. You're lucky she's so petite. I know, smiled Sabrina, proudly showing him off. Turn and show Grandma the back, Emma. Please don't call me that, Owen yelled as she twisted him away for a minute and then all the way around. Please, I'm being good and playing along. Aren't I? Sorry, sweetie. Grandma didn't know you'd be sensitive about that, but there's nothing wrong with being petite, replied his mother, sizing him up. You look absolutely adorable in that, and I was petite until I got to high school, so it's no big deal. Then obviously she got your height genes, but I love that she is sensitive, said Sabrina, rubbing his back and fussing a touch with the way the dress hung. Can you watch her for me, Mom, while I get the bows, since obviously this doesn't match anymore? Of course, and sit down, honey, smiled their mother as she hurried off. I love you in pink, sweetie. I bet you do, snarled Owen, walking over towards the table. Watch that tongue of yours, princess, and hold your dress flat behind you when you sit, giggled their mother, sipping her soda. It's your color, baby girl. Then I'm surprised it took until the second change then, grumbled Owen, holding his dress flat like he'd seen his sister do many times, and sitting. Isn't it every baby girl's color? Behave, Emma, or you'll find yourself back in that high chair, said his mother, getting more serious. You were just doing so well so. Sorry, interrupted Owen. I love pink. Sit up straight for Mommy, please, Emma, and my baby looks pretty in every color, but what girl doesn't love pink, joked Sabrina, dropping a big canister on the table. Which is why I brought even more of it here now. Hands on the table, please, Emma. Seriously? Owen asked, seeing his sister take out a few pink nail polish bottles. Well, I didn't think a bright red would be appropriate for my baby girl, laughed Sabrina, holding up a few pink nail polish samples against the dress before picking one. Now this one looks cute, right, Mom? Hands flat, Emma. I love that, said their mother, flicking her wrist. And I'm almost done eating, so if you want I'll do her hair. Grandma has a cute idea she'd like to try while her nails are drying. Really? Okay, smiled Sabrina, taking her nail file to his fingers. But all I was going to do was change the bow and fix a few curls. I'd love that, Mom. In no time now he was being double-teamed as the second their mother finished eating, she began helping Sabrina shape and buff his short nails. When finally she began painting his left hand, their mother worked on his right, and then when she finished, began doing the dishes while Sabrina turned the other hand pink. All he could do was sit and watch when the second coat dried across his digits, before finally the cookie tray exited the oven and the smell brightened the room. As they cooled atop the stove, Sabrina began locking in the polish with a clear coat, while unexpectedly he felt his mother's hands from behind gently tug on the big bow. "Just keep looking straight ahead, Pumpkin," said his mother, pulling out the bow and then leaning down, kissing his head. "Granny's going fix you right up, pretty girl." Out in front of his face now extended the point of a double-sided comb that was one half comb bristles on one side and the other half appeared like a long thin dagger. Right towards his face came the pointy end before it swooped up towards his forehead, piercing his curls and sliding towards the crown of his hair. A quick wince would follow as some tight coils would be pierced as she created a distinct middle part, pulling the little perm-like curls apart. Into her hand now she squirted a glob of gel before patting down the left side from the part towards each temple before again globbing on the right. The teeth of the comb would then follow, pulling his hair down tight from the middle outward for about 3 inches on each side before it stopped. He looked down now, seeing his mother dig through their bin filled with bows and pins before watching her squeeze open something silver with a pink portion cupped in her hand. To his temple he felt it slide in on the left before pinching down, and then she followed with another at the right. From the table now she lifted a pick as she began pulling out some of the tight curls near his left ear as she worked her way around the back. She would be gentle as she patted small sections until quickly she was all the way around to the left before placing her palm across his face, covering his eyes. A few quick spurts from her pump spray smelled like cherries once she moved back her hand and then stepped back, giving him a glance, nodding her approval. "So how's that, Sabrina?" asked his mother, fussing a little on the left. "Oh my God, Mom! I love that," said Sabrina, holding her chest. "Me too, but use a little less product next time if you do them again, and let's get you up now, Emma," said their mother, lifting him out of the chair. "They're awfully kinky, but I have to say they really do look pretty natural, especially once I pulled them out a little." "Okay, I'll remember that if I do them again, but Emma likes pretty curls," said Sabrina, taking him by the hand out of the kitchen, and then he saw his reflection in the living room glass. "Don't you, Mama's precious baby girl?" "Oh God," gulped Owen. "And there's 2 more days of this?" All Owen could do was stand and stare, sickened at the little girl that gazed back at him. He was in a much fancier, pale pink bell-shaped tea-length dress that shone from its poly-blend silk-like finish. 3/4 cap sleeves, a thin peasant collar and flat bodice would give it a simple appearance on top before the skirt blossomed outward in matching pale pink. A layer of pink crinoline beneath the skirt gave it a bit of shape, and its thick ribbon sash defined his midsection beautifully. With it knotted in a big pink bow atop the skirt and back, he'd been encased in pale pink with the exception of his socks and shoes. He was back in his little white Mary Janes, but instead of tights, white ruffled ankle socks would now add another level of daintiness to his feet. 2 silk small bow-tie pale pink bows attached to hinge pins now held his hair back at each temple like barrettes, as his mother had created a middle part and gelled back all his hair on top, yet the rest hung loosely. Beneath and behind the bows though, she had turned all the small baby curls into a head of tiny kinky tresses like he was Shirley Temple, as it was hard to believe how easily they turned his boy hair into short baby girl curls. They sat in the living room now, playing dolls and pretending until their mother joined them a half-hour later with the cookies. He'd have to swallow hard watching his pink nail-stuffed cookies in his mouth and not make a peep as Sabrina would constantly wipe his face and hands. Like a hawk, she'd make sure not a crumb would get near his dress, and it was almost like Christmas when she allowed him to drink out of a small sippy cup to wash them down. He'd be on his best behavior as their mother joined in playing, and then when Sabrina ran off to the bathroom for a minute, he knew the Inquisition would be coming again. "So are we ready to talk about math yet, Curly Q?" joked his mother, before touching his face. "Because you know the topic, and whatever else you need to tell me about school is not going away." "Please Mom, how about we just play for today?" said Owen, still trying to avoid it. Look at me. I'm doing everything you're asking, and I'm getting too tired anyway. I see, huffed his mother, frustrated and getting up from playing on the floor. Fine, I need a break too. Okay, Sabrina, let's go before it gets too late and the baby's getting tired. So can I take her now then? Said Sabrina, coming back in and getting excited. Really, you're good with it now? I have everything ready. Why not? I could use the exercise too, so go get it, nodded his mother. Wait, gulped Owen, sitting there frozen as Sabrina hurried from the room. Take me where? Just for a walk, said his mother, holding out her hand. Get up, Emma. You mean outside? Said Owen, folding his arms. Are you crazy? Yes, before I lose my mind with you, said his mother, reaching down her hand again. Now I won't ask again. Get up, I could really use some air. I can't walk anywhere like this? Owen said. Don't you think your mommy anticipated this, and I got this, Mom, said Sabrina, reaching down and lifting him under his arms. I knew you'd be tired and difficult, so you won't have to. Down she placed him in a fold-out, umbrella stroller he easily fit, and it actually hadn't been that many years since he'd been in it. Like a pro, she flattened his skirt before fastening the seatbelts and snapped on a tray as just that fast she had him ready to go. His eyes bulged as he watched his mother grab her pocketbook and open the front door as he could barely breathe as Sabrina dropped the straps of the big diaper bag across the handles, and suddenly he was being pushed towards the front door. Here's your mask, Sabrina, said her mother, handing her a mask as she reached the door. And just keep the baby a good 10 feet from everyone and move over if someone is coming down the sidewalk towards us. Of course, Mom, said Sabrina, thrilled to be the mom out of the house, sliding on her mask. Please, what if anyone sees me? Owen begged, dying to push out of the stroller. Please, no one can see me like this. All they're going to see is two women in masks pushing a baby girl, replied his mother, holding open the front door. If you want them to see anything else, keep acting up. No, please. Owen was panicking as out the door they went. Here, Emma, said Sabrina, opening the diaper bag on the porch and taking out a bottle. Mommy's prepared, and you can have your binky when you're done with it if that gives you a little more security. It was still fairly light out as into the early evening he was suddenly being pushed. He jammed the bottle into his own mouth as he was being rolled down their block path, as seconds later they turned away from the house, heading down the sidewalk. As they passed some of their neighbors' houses, he suckled with his stomach in knots, as happily he noticed no one he knew, seeing only older kids riding by on bikes and cars past, paying them no mind. When they turned off their block, he gave her no issue, happily suckling on the pacifier when the bottle was dry, avoiding any eye contact as people would pass. By the next block, a few teen girls would pass, giggling and gossiping without masks, ignoring any rules like they were immune, as his sister just kept their distance as they strolled along. 20 minutes and a few blocks would soon be over as they turned for home, until someone called out to their mother from behind. She'd now be engaged in a full-out conversation with an older couple when his sister turned the stroller as they asked to see the baby, and then there he was being shown off from 10 yards away. He sulked in the carriage, seeing them glare his way as his mother chatted about what a little darling he was while softly touching his face. He was the little girl being bragged about, as the woman could not stop complimenting about how adorable he was and how wonderfully he was dressed. He was ready to throw up in his own mouth when she asked them to take out the pacifier so she could get a better look at how pretty he was, yet her squint behind thick glasses gave his stomach no reprieve. A little more fussing of his kinky curls by Sabrina while they chatted made this the longest 5 minutes of his life, until finally he gasped, feeling a hiccup, and she pushed the binky back in. Never could he have been so happy about mandated distances, holding his breath, trying not to hiccup again, and then mercifully the conversation ended as they turned for home. See, you survived being adorable girl, no problem, said his mother, putting her key in the front door. And without even a mask on. Please don't tell me we have to do that again tomorrow though, whined Owen, taking out the pacifier and handing it to Sabrina. Please. I'm not telling her that, scolded his mother, as Sabrina let him out of the carriage. She went out with you every day, so if that's what she wants, then that's what you're doing. If I thought she was doing this to embarrass you, then I wouldn't have allowed it, but I knew it would be no problem unless you made it one, and obviously it wasn't. Was it? No, gulped Owen, knowing his mother had put him right in his place and set the ground rules, as he was stuck under his sister's mercy during her time. Exactly, nodded his mother. And not that I don't love this on her, but I think you've played dress up enough for today, Sabrina, so let's get her out this dress. Like I'd ever want to embarrass my precious baby, smiled his sister. And it's still only 8 o'clock, Mom. I played his stuff until 9, and so can't I change her and play a little more? I have everything ready already, Mom. You have PJs for her, right? Asked her mother. What kind of mom would I be if I didn't? Grinned Sabrina. Okay, go get them and I'll brush out her hair for bed, said her mother, taking his hand. Into the kitchen, Missy, and go sit at the table again. Fine, nodded Owen, almost knowing he'd at least get some relief from the girly hair. Please get all these off me. You say that now, but sit still, smiled his mother. Between hairspray, gel and who knows what Sabrina put in making these curls, this will sting a little, so I'm sorry in advance. Oh boy, grumbled Owen, eliciting some nervous giggles as she began to brush through his hair. Ouch! Sorry, you may have some precious little baby curls, but if we don't get them under control before bed, you'll wake up with your hair matted and then you'll really be screaming, said his mother, spraying his head dampening as she separated and brushed them out. It's not like I asked for them, and not before today I didn't. Now that really hurts, moaned Owen as she was brushing even harder now. Oh, ouch. Oh, stop. One more minute and it's over, so relax, replied his mother, pulling his hair and sectioning between her fingers, brushing. Or would you rather sit here while I flat iron all your hair? Please just get it done, replied Owen, trying to be tough, not used to his hair being pulled or brushed through like this. Ouch. Please. Fast as I can, Missy, and excellent manners, young lady, said his mother, winding in a band. I know this isn't so fun, but I like what a good girl you've been. It took a while, but we're getting there. Okay. Owen looked down, tossing up his hands as she brushed on the other side now again. Why wouldn't I be? See how smart you are now, Emma, because usually it's the boys who make the girls get some alkies, if that's what you meant, giggled his mother, brushing between fingers. Just ask your mom? Right, Sabrina? Yeah, which is why we'd rather play dolls, and let's get these shoes off, honey, giggled Sabrina, rolling her eyes, watching him squirm as their mother wound in the next band as she knelt, pulling off his left shoe and sock. Not that pretty girls can't be just as tough, but it's so much nicer just to be pretty. Isn't it, Emma? You really want me to answer that? Groaned Owen, trying to be tough as finally his mother seemed to be done brushing and yanking while Sabrina pulled off the other shoe and sock now. I think she's getting a bit tired and cranky, Sabrina, and I'm going to need her to sit still for the last part, said their mother, using both her hands to adjust his head. Why don't you give her a cookie and some milk to calm her down a little while I finish? How do you always know what to do, Mom? Stand please, Emma, said Sabrina as he stood, unbuttoning the back of his dress. It's like you can read minds. Mothers have to be mind readers, laughed their mother, walking over the counter and stretching an extension cord that he lost sight of behind him while she was undoing the bow. Really, it's just instinct and all mothers have it. Trust me, yours will develop as well and you'll have it too. I hope so, said Sabrina, unzipping the dress and pulling it off his shoulders. After today I know for sure how much I like being a mom, so this day was incredible. Step out, and then hands up please, Emma. See how important playtime and expanding your mind can be then, girls, said their mother as a frilly nightgown came sliding past his face. Glad you both learned some things, so then I'll let you each have a few more cookies as a treat. He looked down, seeing the My Little Pony logo atop the lavender, blue, pastel pink and green frilly nightgown as it hung down to his ankles. At least their playtime would be over soon, he thought, as he sat back down again fixated on his own fingers covered in pink polish, lifting a chocolate chip cookie to his mouth, but it would be a late-night treat he couldn't resist. That first bite seemed to alleviate any anguish from the day as he savored it, chewing and finally having a moment of bliss. An actual glass of milk being poured by his sister for him was almost like she was extending an olive branch and thanking him for the experience, as he gladly took it, taking a huge sip. Looks like you're letting your little girl grow up a little, Sabrina. That's not easy for any moms, but I'm glad this has been so educational for you. Plus sometimes we need to take a step back to step forward like my little darling here did today, if you understand me, Emma, said their mother, extending his hair on the left and then suddenly feeling a quick burst of stickiness that would be followed by an eerie creaky noise. Now finish that cookie without even moving an inch, Emma, or Grandma could burn you. Owen nervously swallowed his cookie and then waited until she told him it was okay to sip his milk. He sat just as she asked, thinking about what she said before downing the cold beverage once he felt the heat leave from just above his left ear. It would be only seconds until its release, and spritzed it again before she cupped her handiwork in her hand while she allowed him to enjoy another cookie. 40 seconds later, after he chewed and swallowed, she repeated her work on the right, not even making a peep. Again it would be quick and relatively painless until she had stopped as he ate the last cookie, waiting for what would be next until his mother came out in front, inspecting her work. Oh God, sighed his mother, looking at him lovingly as she sat back down at the table, pulling some lavender ribbon from a spool and cutting it. What great memories this brings back, and how much I miss having a baby around. Then play with us until bed, Mom, begged Sabina, taking a wipe and walking over, cleaning any chocolate from Owen's face as his mother reached up on the left, knotting the ribbon. Please. You have your mommy-daughter time, and then I'll come play after I clean up a little, said their mother, taking the next piece and knotting it on the other side. How often do you think you'll have a little girl this adorable around like this to play with? Oh God, Mom, smiled Sabrina, nodding. That is so adorable on her. Owen turned violently, staring at his reflection in the toaster, seeing the short pigtails waver next to his face. They'd been curled into little singular tube rolls on each side, rebounding from their tight wide coils beneath single strands of lavender ribbon tied in simple bows above each one. She is adorable, and I wish we had more time, sighed his mother, looking at him lovingly. I almost hate that the day is over, and I could put her in pigtails again. I love them on her. I'd love that, but you asked how often? But we've got time. I'm got every 3 days until the pandemic is over, joked Sabrina, seeing Owen's face go white. Right, Emma? That's what I'm afraid of, Owen answered. And when can I change? I don't want Daddy to see me like this, and I can't even get in my room until he unlocks it. Afraid? You won't be sleeping alone tonight, so there's nothing to be afraid of, said his mother. And Daddy won't be handling that until tomorrow. He's stuck on a double shift. Why do you think I put you in pigtails for bed, and you'll be sleeping with Sabrina? Oh boy, gulped Owen, involuntarily ripping a fart before reaching back, feeling his behind. Oh no! Excuse me and wait, please don't say that. Please don't say I'll be sleeping in pigtails and a nightgown. That's what pretty girls do, and maybe come help me, Mom, smiled Sabrina, taking him by the hand, leading time towards the living room. I'm thinking we better go change that diaper and save playtime for tomorrow, as my baby girl is getting cranky and obviously the prunes are kicking in. Tomorrow's a new day for Emma, so let's get you buttoned up and tucked in, princess.